before I start, I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of the Cisco team to VSD ECS Philippines for this opportunity. So again, really glad to be here amongst all of you, everyone virtually. My name is Fidi Putri, and I am the Meraki ASEAN distribution for Meraki ASEAN distribution account manager. And also today with me, my colleague Ken Ang, who will be helping me as well later to talk about the SASE use cases. He is our APJ security BDM. So again, the agenda for the next 45 minutes or so, we will be covering, topic around SASE, how the world is changing fast, and then we'll follow by talking about cloud-scaled security, Cisco's vision around this, and then we're going to also provide you with 2 SASE use cases. One is secure SD-WAN and direct internet access, and then the second one is secure Wi-Fi at scale. We live in a multi-cloud world. And apps are the lifeblood of digital business and have become the brand of those businesses. And the pandemic has accelerated digital channels for our customers, and apps are at the forefront of that. Enterprises large and small are expected to have 50% more apps in the next 2 years. 47% of these container-based using microservices. Because of this new way of building distributed applications that are portable, application will have on average 20 dependencies, a 2 times, 3 times fold increase. Applications will span clouds and access data that may be in other clouds, on-prem or at the edge. Now, if you can see on the left side, this is how things used to work with network and security. All applications used to be hosted on-prem. Basically, users, you had to be on the corporate network in order to access them or get work done. Branch offices would tunnel all traffic back to the corporate data center over MPLS. 80% of the traffic was internal, and all internet access was routed there. And you had a complete security stack, right? Firewall, SWG, etc. deployed within the corporate data center or HQ. For years, this was the way that most companies deployed their network architecture, and it allowed them to have a single place for all security as well on the network. And on the right side, as you can see, over the last 5 years, there has been a drastic increase in internet traffic. Organizations have continued to adopt cloud applications and storage and are running more of their workloads from the cloud. Now, the percentage of internet traffic is typically higher than the internal traffic. Backhauling all this traffic through expensive MPLS lines and VPN doesn't make sense anymore. More organizations are moving to direct internet access, which exposes them to more threats because they bypass traditional security protection. This old centralized approach forces all of the internet traffic through the single stack of security appliances. This leads to performance problems, impacting user satisfaction and causing issues with, SaaS adoption in many organizations. And also networking and security teams also struggle to, number one, connect users to applications and data. For example, poor user experience when accessing cloud applications, complexity in connecting to multiple cloud providers, lack of end-to-end granular visibility on application performance. And the second one is protect against evolving threat vectors. So it gives that gaps in security protection, inconsistent policies enforced across disparate locations, and also difficult to verify identity of users and devices. This requires a new approach to networking and security. So today's cloud-centric world drives the need for a secure access service edge, or pronounced as SASE architecture. Now, what is SASE? Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE, combines networking and security functions in the cloud to deliver secure access to applications anywhere users work. The core functions include software-defined wide area network, or SD-WAN, firewall as a service, secure web gateway, or SWGs, cloud access security broker, CASB, and zero trust network access, ZTNA. The goal of the SASE model is to consolidate these functions which were traditionally delivered in siloed point solutions in a single integrated cloud service. SASE also helps organizations to combine networking and security functions to deliver secure connectivity as a service, connect users seamlessly to the applications and data they need to access in any environment from any location. Also control access and enforce the right security protection anywhere users work. If you have a lean security and network team, how do you bring security to users from anywhere on any device? Cloud scale security is the answer. Instead of buying point solutions or looking for a vendor who has only what you need today, Gartner recommends looking for a partner based on the long-term vision. So first and foremost, you want to look for a vision of consolidation of the 5 core use cases of SASE: SD-WAN, FWAS, ZTNA, SWG, and CASB, like what I mentioned earlier. Consolidation is key because though you may have only Zero Trust or SD-WAN today, you'll likely need to extend to another service in the future. Choose a leader in security and threat prevention to protect users and data at the edge. Only 5% of enterprises have all 5 of these services from one vendor today. But by 2023, it is predicted that 20% of enterprises will work through a single vendor for all 5. This shift from best of breed to best of platform will drive efficiency for your networking and security teams, particularly as vendors integrate these core services. Beyond technology, providing secure access at the cloud edge efficiently requires the ability to scale your consumption up or down based on your needs, subscription pricing, and a quality global presence. In order to deliver the seamless connection users expect, you'll need high performance access with low latency. This comes from a highly available global infrastructure. You may already be in your SASE journey, or you may take years to get everything set up. You need to choose a vendor that can meet you where you are today with a vision that enables long-term SASE transformation. And Cisco is prepared to deliver these kind of requirements and has the flexibility to meet you wherever you are today. And cloud is driving a major architecture shift in the way networking and security services are being consumed by our customer. Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE, is a term coined by analyst firm Gartner. Just think of it as an adaptive framework that combines networking and security services for today, mobile, global hybrid workplace that relies on cloud applications and data. Imagine SASE as an adaptive framework that has multiple Lego boxes, some existing and some new, like WAN cloud native security components, like FW, SWB with a Zero Trust network access, all coming together, working together and adapting to constantly evolving threat vectors. So many acronyms and terms. Imagine if it's hard for you. Customers are navigating this complexity with multiple Lego boxes and heterogeneous systems with different vendors. We need to step in and help them. And let's see how. Let's introduce the concept of determining the levels of SASiness in the customer and figuring out a strategy on leveraging existing investments and how it works together in a heterogeneous system together and seamless represents the critical cybersecurity challenge for every customer. It is for this reason that SASE is an important architecture battle that we in Cisco needs to be part of in every customer. SASE components include multiple Lego blocks, SD-WAN, cloud data security components, FW, SWG, CASB, Zero Trust Networks access, observability, different Lego boxes working together across organizations' boundaries. I'm now going to hand it over to my colleague, Ken Ang, who is going to talk about some of the key SASE use cases.
Thank you so much, PD, and morning, everyone. Hope everyone is staying safe and keeping healthy, both physically, mentally, and in the cyberspace, right? So I think SASE is a very big thing these days, right? Not because it's a nice, sexy word, right? It is really the threats that are changing, in the cyber landscape. And of course, you know, like you and me now, you know, attending a virtual event, right? Meetings today's like what Fidi mentioned, right? The clouds is changing the world that we operate, the way we interact with, you know, our work colleagues, our customers, even our families and loved ones, right? With the current challenges that's going on. Now, let's switch gear back to what is important, right, to you and your customers, right? You know, the challenges that IT businesses, right, now needs to struggle with, not only with, you know, keeping their business afloat, but battling against, you know, cyber criminals, right? It is a very complex conversation, right, when it comes to SASE, or it can be a very simple one, right? So with Cisco, right, one of the key things that we are working towards is really helping to simplify, you know, some of the use cases that, you know, when we talk about SASE, right? So what are the key things that, you know, when we start talking to customers and partners like yourself, you know, regardless of the technology, regardless of the platform, regardless of the solution that you use today, a lot of us want to know, right? What are the outcome, right? That SD-WAN or SASE solutions brings to the tables today. What are the common use cases that I might be able to start with, right? Remember, security is a journey, right? It's never an end game, right? And that's why all of us security folks still have a job, right? It's unfortunate, right? However, it is going to be the way that it is, especially with us, you know, doing more business online, right? Like I said, right? We do our grocery shopping online today. We do our shopping online today, right? So that part of our life is not going to go away anytime soon. It might be here to stay forever, right? So when you look at some of the common use cases today, right? What are the key top of mind, right? When we look at SD-WAN and SASE, for most of us, especially for the partners here who are familiar with Meraki, it's really about connectivity, right? Like it or not, connectivity is key. If you're not connected, you know, there's pretty much nothing that you need to basically be protecting against the cyber threat, right? So when we look at all this conversation and the needs going around, the first thing that we look at, of course, is top of mind these days is how do I basically secure remote or roaming workers, right? Regardless of the workers is working at home, at a branch office, Starbucks, right? You name it, right? Workers need to continue to be able to do their work. And how do we ensure that they get to do their work, get to the resources they need, at the same time, they are well protected against cyber threat, right? And the second part, which is really, really key, right, especially for businesses who still are keeping their offices, branches, you know, point of sales up and running, how do I then secure the edge, right? We might not be needing to go back to the head office, but sometimes branch offices, especially if you're in the retail business, you still need to keep your branch up, right, to serve the customers or the walking customers that are coming to your office, right? So when we look at Cisco, the 3C that Fidi talked about is really about connect, right? And then once you have that connectivities, and it's always constantly a key part of all IT budgets and top of mind for all businesses, right? How do I make sure that my businesses are well connected, my offices are well connected, my users are well connected, right? And when we talk about connectivity, right, the bandwidth issue, the quality of connections, especially when we are doing video session, you know, web virtual conferencing, right? How do I ensure the quality of service, right? The connectivity rates, right? So those are key things, right? So, and that's why when we look at whether you're working from home, whether you're working from branch or even head office, how do I allow direct internet access, right? Without, you know, consolidating the traffic back to the main office, which choke up bandwidth, right? Especially when you have, you know, 50, hundreds of video sessions going on, right? That is not going to help, right? And bandwidth are expensive, no matter how much it has become much cheaper these days, right? And then once we addresses that, you know, connectivity challenges and try to make it a little bit better, right? Make the experience for the user, the employees, your customers a little better, then we need to start looking at, right? How do I make sure that while we are ensuring that connectivity is there, how do I put control in place, right? To protect the users, the assets, the resources that you have, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, right? And it is critical, right? Because security is really a balance, right? Because when you make security too difficult and make control too hard, users try to find ways around it, right? So you do not want to basically provide an overarching security infrastructure that hampers the effects, right, or the outcome that you want to address, which is to protect the user. You do not want user trying to overcome those controls. And of course, unless you're the banks or you're in the government sectors, that might be a different conversation. But for small, mid-sized enterprises that we talk to today, or we are serving today, right, we need to basically ensure a balance between control, which I'll touch on in the following use cases. And at some point of time, right, I'll try and touch on a little bit of the demo here and there, bits and pieces, given the limited time we have, just to give you a sense of what are the things that you can expect and what are the security control that you might want to explore or put in place. And if you are already a Cisco customer, how do you quickly and easily add on some of this control to make sure that users are protected without hampering or without creating too much friction for the user? And last but not least, while we look at connectivity control, the more important thing as we move towards a maturity in the cybersecurity landscape or the SASE architecture, right? Depending on what the strategy of the company, right? How do I converge them, right? So that I have both the connectivity in optimum condition and control in place to provide the essential and the minimum protection upfront, and then move up the chain, right? In terms of your cyber security maturity model, and continues to protect as cyber threat is also continuously evolving. So now let's look at of course, the first use case that I'm going to share, right? Not in priority order, but today, like we talk about, right, with SD-WAN fabric, with WAN connectivity, software-defined wireless, wide area network access. How do I make sure that while I'm basically protecting, allowing user to connect, protecting the branch by applying the same security policies at the same time, right, where traffic are going into the internet, does not need to come back to the main data center or the head office, and still enjoy, right, the security of the same security policies when they're accessing the internet or the SaaS applications that you have in the cloud, right? Especially when you start to adopt, multi-cloud, hybrid kind of solutions. As we all know, right, cloud has this advantages, and a lot of the cloud provider and a lot of company moving to cloud really looks at today in terms of OPEX and CAPEX, right? And with cloud OPEX capability, it sometimes helps to free out the cash flow that a lot of the companies are facing today. So while we are moving towards more efficient way of accessing data, more efficient way of connectivities, how then do I look at a balance between security, right, enforcing corporate-wide security policies while allowing traffic that does not need to be scanned or does not need to come back to the main data center to go to the internet directly. So DIA, direct internet access, is something that a lot of companies exploring today as well. Now, secure edge and direct internet access, right? So the key part that we spoke about is that how do I basically allow branch office to get the same kind of security policies while allowing them access to the internet and protected. Now, one key part that we talk about in terms of SD-WAN, in terms of secure edge, which you will hear quite a fair bit these days, is really how do I basically effectively manage, right? So for those partners who are familiar with Meraki, right, one of the greatest value that Meraki brings to the table is it has a cloud managed SD-WAN solution, right? And for those of you who are familiar, it is a truly integrated centralized dashboard whereby you can manage your Meraki regardless of your MX, your MR, from a main data center all the way to the branch office. And one of the trends that we are seeing, right, is that there are even smaller businesses or even mid-sized businesses that are basically deploying Meraki MX or MR, right, into their home user offices, right? It's not all, but we are seeing the trend that there are businesses who are basically shifting from temporary work from home to permanently working from home, right? So with Cisco Meraki team, I'm sure a lot of the Meraki folks has a MRI at home that are connected back to the Cisco Meraki dashboard and basically well protected by the same security policies that are protected by the Meraki solutions, right? So in the demo, we'll touch a little bit on what are some of the areas that you can do and you can configure, right? And we can go do a deeper dive, right? For those of you who are interested to drill down further for another deep dive session. But more importantly, the key part is really how do I, in terms of top of mind, is that while I'm allowing access to corporate data, right, from the branch office, how do I protect, right, a user accessing the internet from the branch, which will show you a quick demo of the difference, right? If you have a umbrella protected environment, whether it's branch or remote user, and a non-umbrella protected environment, right? And the risk that the user gets exposed to. Sometimes it's easy to talk about solution. Sometimes I feel that it's easier to show you what are the threats that are available, right, out there, right, readily there, and they are changing dynamically every day. So how do I keep up with that threat, right, from a secure edge perspective, right? So with that, right, that's where, with Meraki solutions in place, right, for those users that I spoke about who are already using Meraki, right, adding on a umbrella solutions is really, really easy. And as Meraki continues to evolve, you'll see that with API coming out, some of the integration and touch point is becoming a lot simpler, right, than what you see out there. And when you look at the solution out there in the market, one of the key parts that is always a challenge is that when we talk about SASE, the part that is always key to the IT team or to the boss who is spending the money on budget in terms of implementation, integration, is that how quickly and easily, right, I can put forward a SASE solutions in the cloud, right, to allow that protection to be easily added, right, without having to spend a huge amount of money in terms of integrations and maintenance, right? So we'll talk about a little bit of that in the demo that I'll show you later, right? So one of the key things that we look at in terms of Cisco security architecture or SASE architecture is really we look at how do I really quickly a couple of simple things, right? How do I allow simplicity in terms of connectivity, setting up SD-WAN, managing it, with basic security policies, and allow you to quickly add a cloud-based security to protect your edge, your HQ, and your remote users, right? Without having too much of a hassle, right? So that is one of the key areas that Cisco brings to the table, right? It's simple, right? That sets a simple use case. It doesn't stop there. But when you start with that, it is a lot easier. As when you start to as you realize that, as you start put security controls and solution in place, right? Having the ability to get visibility and deciding what are the additional solutions or technology that you need in place to further safeguard your assets and your employees becomes a lot easier, right? As the saying goes, right? The journey of 1,000 miles, they start with a single step, right? And that is probably where you want to start to protect the user and start gaining visibility. Right, so in terms of Meraki features, we all know, right, one of the key features that we use a lot, right, especially if you are Meraki customers, is the auto VPN capability, right? Without going through the massive command line, massive configuration, right? Once you set up your VPN, you turn on auto VPN with all your Meraki appliances, right? The auto VPN kicks in, and it basically provides the essential needs to basically load balance, route your traffic, right? Easily, right? So, and then of course, from there, if you need to tweak and you need to tune, you can do it, right? But from a business perspective, you take away a lot of time to do a lot of manual customization or manual route decision, right? So auto VPN becomes a key. And when you start to look at remote sites, branch, right, then the routing capabilities, the DIA in terms of how do you split the traffic becomes critical. And with that, right, and with the ability to look at the SD-WAN policies, you can look at prioritizing voice traffic, video traffic, essential critical traffic, right? So once the VPN connection is up, which you do not need to spend a lot of time, right? It allows you to free up time to really look into where you need to basically put time and focus into the user experience and the quality of that service. And Meraki dashboard allows you to do that easily, right? And of course, in terms of performance, as we see, right, in terms of how do I basically prioritize, the traffic, and then for businesses who you basically have essential, critical workers, bosses who are doing their board meetings, you want to basically start to look and track all these things. Meraki provides you that capability to effectively manage that from a single dashboard, right? And that is critical. As we all have limited time, right? The ability to simplify all this performance, all this connectivity requirements from a day-to-day work allows you to tune, right, and improve on the investment that you have made to your solution, right? So from that perspective, once you are able to look at traffic applications priority in terms of connectivities, next in place is really to look at the security threats, right? So one of the things that for those of you who are not aware, right, Cisco Umbrella has both the commercial and the home user version, right? So for those of you who know, Cisco Umbrella originated with OpenDNS, right? And it's probably as old as me, probably 18 years old, right? In terms of providing that DNS service in the internet, right? You can actually sign up for OpenDNS and use it to protect your home, right? And one of the key things that you will see is that a lot of time, there are a lot of adwares, there are a lot of traffic, right, that are happening behind the scene that you do not know, all right? One thing, then a lot of those might be security threat, but more importantly, a lot of those traffics are actually traffics that are not essential, of no value, and is choking up your bandwidth, right? So even though a security solution is there to protect you against the security threat, it also allows you to look at traffics that are not that you're not aware, and set certain kind of policies and control, even maybe to block those traffic so that it free up the bandwidth, right? As one of the things with security, for those of you who are familiar with denial of services or distributed denial of services, and if you are CISSP, right, availability is actually a key part of security, right? So all these threats on bandwidth consumption, in terms of traffic that are not of value, that are choking our bandwidth, malware, malicious traffic that you are going to internet, all this can be consolidated and viewed from a single place, right? So of course, for those of you, who are aware, all right, that browsers these days are also becoming more intelligent. How do I basically allow, HTTPS, intelligent proxy is another key part. You might not want to start with that up front, but it will basically allows you to free up a lot of the noises as it goes along. I'll show you in the demo, right? If you do not turn on intelligent proxies, right, it will still work to protect the user, a little bit more cumbersome. So how do I basically make that a little bit more seamless for the user, right? And last but not least, I'll give you a quick tour of the dashboard on some of the things that I spoke about in terms of identifying malicious traffic, redundant traffic, high-risk applications, etc. Right, and the next use case that I'm going to basically look at is that now with the secure edge and Meraki infrastructure and Umbrella security in place, right, it is very easy to add on your remote worker into the protection or into the solution set. I'm not going to go through a lot of the details. Let me show you how it looks like in a quick demo. So without further ado, let's hop on to the demo that I'm going to show you. So in the demo that I'm going to show you, I have basically two environments set up, right? So there's two virtual machines that I have basically spin off, right? On the left is a virtual machine that is basically protected by Umbrella, which is in black. And then on the right is a virtual machine that I've set up that is not protected by Umbrella. And so for those of you who are not aware, right, Meraki is testing out the beta for AnyConnect. So as you can see, I have basically connected, my client machine, which I spin off in the Azure network, right, connecting back to my home office, right? So what I want to basically start off with is on the Meraki sides of things, right? So for those of you who are familiar with Meraki, right, the dashboard is really, really simple, right? And from a network perspective, you can actually from a quick overview. Right, from the general dashboard, you can basically look at, what are the machines that I have, connected, but more importantly, the MX that I've basically configured at home, right? From a simple look and feel, upfront, you can actually look at the WAN connectivity, right? So for the newer boxes with dual WAN link, and if you are like me, subscribed to two broadband, list line, you can have redundant WAN link. But for this demo, I've only connected to the older model with one WAN port. But at least from the what you can see from a quick look, right? You can see what are the WAN performance that is happening, right? So that is a key areas. You can configure email alerts if the WAN link goes down, etc. Right? And more importantly, right, with the site-to-site VPN that I spoke about, if you have a multiple VPN connection like myself with my colleagues, you can actually have the auto VPN turn on, right, to allow routing across the environment. And then you can set policies whereby for your remote users coming in, you might want to restrict it to a single site or multiple site. And you can add that on to the auto VPN so that the resources can be shared, or you might want to control the traffic. And more importantly, from a direct internet access perspective, that is a key part of things that I spoke about in terms of how do you break out the traffic. For this setup, I've basically done a quick setup just to give you a flavor in terms of, for example, for a branch office or even for a remote user. So when we talk about direct internet access perspective, a simple policy that I set up is that, for the client users or the branch office coming back to the main office or my home office, right, I only allow that traffic, that is going to my private subnet, as you can see here, to come through, right, the VPN connection, whether it's a remote user or a branch user. And everything else, right, to the internet does not need to be brought back to my home office. So that is where we talk about, right, making sure that only the essential traffic that you need to do your day-to-day work is there, right? For the internet traffic, you do not want to pipe it through. But at the same time, you still want to make sure that the traffic is protected, right? So how do you do it, right? So that's where Cisco umbrella comes in, right? With Meraki, you can basically make sure that the SD-WAN fabric is in place, your traffic control is there. If you have insights, you can actually go in to look at your web application health and look at some of the ability to prioritize and basically do your network traffic, right? So you can basically go in to look at what are the traffic that is happening on the WAN side of things or on the network side of things, right? You can see what are the traffic that is going through. I have Netflix, since it's a home office. I have OneDrive, I have Box, I have Office 365. I can even go on down to look at tune up some of the traffic that is inside, right? And look at how do I basically control or even tune the traffic. Now, so once that is done, right, your network is up and running, everything is hunky-dory, then we look at from a security perspective, right? So let's switch gear, right? So one of the key things that we all love, right, which is WebEx. So I'm going to basically show you, in terms of a very simple thread, right? Since we use a lot of collaboration or communication tools today. So I'm going to basically show you how important it is, right, to have security in place, right, for your remote user, right? So now shifting gear to a remote user. On the left, I have a remote user that is using WebEx, as we can see, all right, and also protected by umbrella. So what you can see here is that I'm going to log in to a WebEx, right? Oops, sorry. Okay, so username and password, right? So one of the key challenge today is with identity theft, right? Stealing username and password is a lot easier. In the demo later, you can see that if a user unnoticedly, noticingly click on a malicious link, they could have their username and password, stolen, right? If they are not protected with at least a basic DNS security. So with the login to WebEx, as you can see, right, I have a username and password, and then I have dual protection, right? So with dual protection, what happens here is that you'll see that besides username and password, right, I have a second factor, which is my phone, right? So what happens here is that with dual, right, I can basically provide a second factor by a push notification. So what happens is the push notification gets sent to my phone. So now instead of besides username and password, now I have a second factor, which is a phone, which means that if a cyber criminal steals my username and password, he has now to clone my SIM card, install the dual, pretend to be me, or steal my phone, right? So it makes it harder for the cyber criminal to basically compromise or steal credential, or even with credential being stolen, to access valuable resources, right? So of WebEx, of course, you have the ability to store videos. If you are in the manufacturing sector, you might be recording your discussion on the latest, chip design or hardware manufacturing, and you are storing those video, right? So it is important that you basically provide at least a second factor to make sure that those data are also being restored. Oops, sorry. Negative demonstration, right? But with all demonstration, there's always a backup. So in that aspect, once you are logged in, right, into WebEx, right, and a very typical use case we use today is a lot of team space, right? So one of the key challenges here is that in terms of team space, right, it is very easy, right, for me to send you a link, right? Hey, check out this, check out this latest SASE promotion on Zimba, for free, right? We all like free stuff, right? And then I'll send a link over, right? So without umbrella, so which is on the right, I'm going to show you. So if I click on this link, what's going to happen is that today a lot of browser gives you a warning, right, to say that, hey, this might be an unsafe website. But since it's not a commercial or a paid solution, a lot of time they will allow you to continue to the unsafe website, because a lot of time it might be false positive, and there's no way that you can call up your IT, right, like a commercial solution to say, hey, can you unblock it, right? So they give you that warning, right? So if a user is not careful, right, and he thinks that it is something that I trust, or since it's coming from a team chat, it's safe, I'm going to click on it, right? So this is a live phishing website, right, that I've just got it off fishtank.com, right, which is a commercial, a public community website, that shares what are the phishing links out there. So it looks like a legitimate Zimba website. And if the user unknowingly key in their username, which is their email and the password, their credential would have been stolen, right? So do not try this at home if you're not very familiar with some of the threats you're going to. But this is what I'm basically sharing, that if a user do not have a minimum DNS security or web security in place, the threat that is exposed to. Now let's switch gear, right? So on this machine that is protected by umbrella, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go here and I'm going to, paste in my URL, right? So what you can see here, right? Umbrella, which is basically backed by Cisco Talos, detects that this is a phishing website, right? It actually automatically blocks the user. So this internet security, right, in place, even though your traffic, right, it is not routed back to the head office, it is going directly into the internet, is now being protected by umbrella, right? So a simple demo like this, right, and it's sometimes useful to show it to your customer, because sometimes no matter how we explain the solution, it might be a little bit difficult to visualize and picture. Now with this demo, you can see that a collaboration tool umbrella in place, it protects the user from accidentally clicking on the malicious website that steals your user credential. Now, ideally, if it's a slightly larger customer with identity store in place, such as AD, or Azure P1, kind of service in place, add on dual, so that in case, right, as we all know, security is not 100%. The user name is still being stolen on a phishing website, right? The dual is still in place to protect the user, right? When the cyber criminal tries to log in using the username and password that is basically stolen, right? So this is a very simple example. I'm not going to show you the dashboard of Umbrella in this session, but reach out to ECS and the team, right? If you are interested to see how this part of the demo continue into Umbrella, SecureX. How do you get visibility? How do you do a little bit more advanced, protection and customization? Do let us know, right? We're happy to do a POV or, do a demo for you to go down deeper into the solution itself. So with that, I probably leave 2 minutes, right, for the audience to see if you have any question.